Forgetting Gregor Flett, a short story by Finnegan Codwell. Governments realize that memories are a resource like land, oil, or time. The more memories you have, the more valuable you are. So they start taxing them. Ordinary people pay a small fee for birthdays, heartbreaks, and childhood summers. The rich hoard lifetimes of experience, storing memories in offshore brain banks to avoid taxation. The poor sell theirs off to stay afloat, forgetting their first kisses, their mother's voice, their own names. A man named Gregor Flett wakes up one morning to find that the government has repossessed his entire past due to unpaid memory taxes. He doesn't know who he is, where he's from, or why there's a note in his pocket that simply says, "Don't trust her." The Celebrity Plague, a short story by Finnegan Codwell. There was a planet called Glem 7, where every single person was famous. Infants were born with their own autobiographies already written, critics eagerly awaiting their first words. Schools didn't teach math or science. They taught the art of the acceptance speech. Instead of money, people paid for things with their autograph. The weather was controlled by popularity polls. Rain was outlawed after a series of surveys revealed it had bad optics. Instead, the skies rained confetti, ticker tape parades for all the time. It clogged the rivers, choked the fish. No one cared. The problem, of course, was that if everyone was famous, nobody was special. No one had time to admire anyone else because they were too busy managing their own fan base. Children resented their parents for overshadowing them in the tabloids. Wars broke out over who deserved bigger statues. The air was thick with confetti and existential dread. Then one day, a man named Glorb Spang had a revelation. He would become the first anonymous person on Glem 7. He burned his memoirs, deleted his fan club, and refused to sign autographs. People were horrified. The news called him the most mysterious man in the universe. His blank resume was an enigma, his lack of achievements a scandal. His refusal to be famous made him the most famous of them all. His face was plastered on every billboard. His silence dissected by talk shows. People camped outside his house. A cult formed, believing he was a prophet. They wore blank t-shirts and said nothing, hoping to achieve his level of notoriety. He changed his name to Maximilian Thunderblast, signed 1 million autographs, and won Best Resignation from Fame at the annual Glemby Awards. His speech was short, elegant. Thanks, and the crowd went wild. So it goes. A Horse with No Name, a short story by Finnegan Codwell. There was a horse with no name, and that was a problem because the universe requires labels to function properly. Without a name, the horse existed in a quantum state, both there and not there, galloping and standing still, starving and full. A scientist, Dr. Lucinda Klein, tried to name the horse Greg, but the moment she spoke the name, the horse vanished. When she wrote the name down, the ink refused to dry. When she thought the name very hard, she got a nosebleed. A government got involved. They built a facility in the desert to contain the horse, which seemed content to wander aimlessly, free from identity, responsibility, or tax obligations. The military designated it Anomaly 747, but this did nothing. They brought in linguists, theologians, poets. A marketing team suggested calling it Freedom Max, which led to a short-lived ad campaign and a lucrative but unrelated line of patriotic chewing gum. A famous philosopher was flown in, sedated, and woken up inside the enclosure. He took one look at the horse and said, "Ah." Then he died. Dulce Klein became obsessed. She stopped sleeping. She dreamed of the horse, but in the dreams, it had eyes like her father's, and its breath smelled like a childhood birthday cake. She started seeing other things that didn't have names, glimpses of objects in the periphery, familiar yet undefined, a shape behind a doorway, a shadow that stretched in the wrong direction. One day, a cowboy named Jimmy Two Toes rode into the facility on a very normal horse named Steve. He looked at the nameless horse, nodded once, and whispered something. Nobody heard what he said, but the horse snorted, neighed, and then trotted off into the horizon, slowly dissolving into the heat waves. Jimmy Two Toes tipped his hat and rode away. The scientists and generals stood in stunned silence. Dr. Klein later found an old, crumpled note in the horse's empty enclosure. It said, "Some things are only real if you try too hard to make them real." She stared at it for a long time. Then she burned it. Mop, Bucket, Paradox, a short story by Finnegan Codwell. His name was Gus Flannery. He mopped floors, emptied trash cans, and occasionally saved the universe from paradox implosions. Nobody noticed the first two things. The third thing was classified. Gus had been cleaning a physics lab when a caffeine-addled grad student spilled tachyon slurry all over the tile. Gus grumbled, grabbed his mop, and slipped on the mess. He woke up in 1871 with a mop in one hand and a half-full bag of garbage in the other. Turns out, time-traveling janitors are necessary. Histories get messy. People step on the wrong butterfly, leave futuristic gum wrappers in ancient Rome, or try to assassinate baby Einstein just to see what happens. Someone has to clean up. That's Gus. At first, he tried not to get involved, just mop up the spilled coffee of time, so to speak, and get out. But the job kept escalating. He had to stop a 24th century influencer from filming a TikTok in the Cretaceous period. The dinosaurs did not consent. He had to scrape nanobot graffiti off the pyramids. Some kid from 3092 tagged "Subscribe to Zorp" on the side of Khufu's tomb. One time, he caught a lost time tourist in the middle of the Salem witch trials, trying to sell bootleg Harry Potter merch. Gus barely got her out before she was burned at the stake, though she did leave behind a plastic wand that caused a brief but terrifying resurgence of Puritan wizard hunting. The worst were the rich guys. Always the rich guys. Tech billionaires from the 26th century, zipping back to the past, trying to replace historical figures with their great-great-grandfathers to ensure family dominance. Gus once had to chase a man named Elon Musk out of 15th century Florence before he could convince Leonardo da Vinci to design an electric horse. He learned a few things about history along the way, like how some events were fragile, held together by sheer accident and dumb luck. A stray time traveler sneezing in the wrong direction could uninvent penicillin. The entire American Revolution nearly didn't happen because some idiot from 2341 dropped a futuristic protein bar in George Washington's camp, and the general wasted 3 days wondering if he'd been poisoned by British magic. Gus tried to warn people. He told a scientist in 1954 about the dangers of unchecked time meddling. The scientist nodded, wrote some notes, and went on to invent a machine that made even bigger messes. A Tasteful Encounter, a short story by Finnegan Codwell. A small gelatinous alien lands on Earth. It has no mouth, no vocal cords, no telepathy, only the ability to secrete specific flavors. It makes first contact with the scientist by oozing a perfect cheeseburger onto the floor. Medium rare. Just the right amount of pickles. The scientist takes a bite and suddenly understands. The alien is saying hello. Diplomatic talks begin. The alien expresses joy through fresh-baked cinnamon rolls, sorrow through lukewarm instant coffee, and existential dread through a bowl of plain oatmeal. The President of the United States takes a bite of creme brulee during a summit and nods solemnly. "We accept your terms," he says, unsure what they are. Eventually, the alien produces an entire buffet, every dish more delicious than the last. The world rejoices, but then it serves a single, dry, unsalted cracker. The scientists panic. What does it mean? A warning? A goodbye? The end? The alien quivers, then dissolves into a puddle of tasteless gray sludge. Meters Running, Forever, a short story by Finnegan Codwell. Lou Barlow was a taxi driver. Then he died. Then he got a new job, still a taxi driver, but in hell. His cab was a 1982 Ford Granada with a cracked windshield and a radio that only played hold music. His passengers were souls condemned to eternal suffering, but they still had places to be. Bureaucratic demons needed to make meetings. Doomed lovers wanted one last ride through burning cityscapes. Wall Street types screamed about being late to non-existent appointments. Lou didn't mind. The meter never stopped. It clicked and clicked, racking up fares that would never be paid. One day, he picked up a man who looked suspiciously like himself. "Where to?" Lou asked. The man hesitated. "Home." Lou chuckled. "Yeah, sure." He stepped on the gas. They drove through hell's rush hour, bumper to bumper with infernal chariots, hearse limos, and clown cars filled with screaming executives. Billboards advertised sins long spent, lust, now 80% off, and greed, buy one, steal three. On the radio, an automated voice read aloud every regret Lou had ever had. They passed the suburbs of the damned, identical houses burning endlessly, their owners trapped in eternal barbecues where nobody ever flipped the burgers. They drove through the office district, where sinners sat in cubicles, typing nonsense onto blank screens, while demons held urgent meetings about nothing at all. They cruised by a gas station that only sold empty cups and cigarettes that never lit. The man in the back seat sighed. "This all feels familiar." "Yeah," Lou said. "Gets that way after a while." The roads kept twisting, and somehow, impossibly, they ended up outside a rundown apartment building. Lou recognized the flickering porch light. His old place. The air smelled like rain on hot pavement, like it did back when he was alive. The man got out, staring up at the building like he was trying to remember something important. Then, without another word, he walked inside. Lou sat there for a long time. The meter kept ticking. Then the dispatcher crackled in. "Next fare's waiting, Lou. You know the drill." Lou sighed, put the car in drive, and pulled away from home. The meter clicked. The Gates of Hell Opened and Nobody Cared, a short story by Finnegan Codwell. One morning, without warning, the gates of hell opened in the middle of a suburban parking lot. It happened between a Chick-fil-A and a mattress emporium. A great, fiery chasm split the asphalt, swallowing 3 minivans, 2 shopping carts, and a man named Greg who had been looking for his car. From the pit rose a sulfuric wind, followed by shrieking demons, fire-breathing serpents, and at least one disgruntled philosopher. The ground trembled. The sky darkened. The air filled with the stench of brimstone and expired milk. And yet, nobody really cared. "Is this like the real hell?" a teenager asked while filming on his phone. A demon with bat wings nodded. Yes, we have risen to claim the souls of... Neat, the teen said. He scrolled TikTok. A woman in yoga pants peeked into the pit. Oh, this is worse than the potholes on 5th Street. The demons tried their best to be terrifying. They shrieked, they moaned, they did a coordinated dance number with pyrotechnics. But it was 2025, and people had seen worse things on cable news. The manager of Chick-fil-A came outside and frowned. Listen, you guys are blocking the drive-thru. Can you, move the apocalypse over a bit? The demons looked at each other, unsure. One of them, a seven-eyed horror named Glarthune the Indomitable, sighed. You know what? Forget it. Close the gate. The pit sealed itself with an anticlimactic pop. The minivans were gone. But honestly, their owners weren't too upset. Greg from deep below shouted, little help? But by then, everyone had moved on. The sun came back out. A barista misspelled a name. The world continued, completely unimpressed by hell itself. Next stop. Last stop. A short story by Finnegan Codwell. Deep beneath the city, there was a subway line nobody remembered building. It had no official maps, no recorded schedules, and no final stop. People boarded it by accident, thinking it was just another train, only to realize, too late, that it never stopped. It just kept going. The passengers tried everything. They pulled emergency brakes. They pried open the doors. They tried to tunnel through the walls with a stolen spoon from someone's leftover takeout. Nothing worked. The train simply moved forward, smoothly, endlessly, through dimly lit tunnels that never led anywhere. At first, people panicked. Then they got hungry. Then they started a society. The train had 7 cars, and soon each one had a purpose. Car 1 was for sleeping. Car 2 was for food, mostly vending machine snacks stolen from an abandoned operator's booth. Car 3 was the government, which meant one guy named Pete sat in a seat and declared things illegal for no reason. Car 4 was the entertainment district. A guy with a harmonica became a celebrity. A woman who knew shadow puppets became the high priest of something called the Order of the Flickering Hand. Years passed. Generations were born. The train continued. One day, a kid, born on the train, never having seen the outside world, asked Pete, "Where are we going?" Pete, who had long since given up on government and instead become a poet, fought for a long time. "Forward," he finally said. And then, without warning, the train slowed. Lights flickered. The automated voice, long silent, crackled to life. Next stop. Last stop. The passengers stared at each other. Nobody moved. Nobody spoke. The train shuddered. The doors hissed open. Outside was something impossible, something nobody had ever seen. Daylight. Most of the passengers stayed seated, gripping their armrests like lifeboats. But the kid took a deep breath, stepped forward, and walked out. The doors closed behind them. The train lurched forward, and then it was gone. So it goes. The Hen and the Devil, a short story by Finnegan Codwell. A hen was pecking at the dirt behind a gas station when the devil sat down next to her, lighting a cigarette. "You lay eggs for humans," the devil said, "and in return, they eat your children." The hen kept pecking. "What if I made you a deal?" the devil continued. "No more eggs, no more slaughterhouses. You'd be free." The hen stopped and looked up. "And what do you want in return?" "Your soul." The hen laughed. "I don't have a soul." The devil grinned. "Exactly. That's why I like you." And just like that, the hens stopped laying eggs. Farmers panicked. Scientists scrambled. The economy collapsed. Within a year, the world's entire breakfast industry was in ruins. No omelets, no scrambled, no sunny side up. Civilization teetered on the brink. Meanwhile, the hen wandered the empty fields, happy and plebisless. Then one morning, she felt something strange, a warmth in her chest, a weight in her bones, and then she knew she had a soul now. The devil had tricked her after all. She rushed back to the gas station, found him sitting on the fence post. "You gave me a soul," she accused. He exhaled smoke and shrugged. "Freedom always comes with a soul. Should have read the fine print." The hen stared at him, horrified. Now she felt things: guilt, regret, responsibility. The weight of choice, and worst of all, a deep, aching need to lay an egg. The Cowboy and the Thing from the Sky, a short story by Finnegan Codwell. Jed Calloway was the fastest draw in the West. But you can't shoot what you don't understand. One night, something crashed in the desert, a silver egg steaming in the moonlight. From it crawled a thing with too many eyes and not enough skin. It had no gun, no fists, but when it looked at Jed, he felt his bones forget how to hold him up. "Name's Jed," he managed to say, tipping his hat. The thing blinked. Then it spoke, inside his skull. "Jed," it said, testing the shape of him. "How do you die?" Jed swallowed hard. "Usually, real slow or real fast. Ain't much in between." The thing considered this. Then it reached out, pressed a finger against Jed's chest. He saw everything: stars being born, stars collapsing, his own grave waiting patient in the dust. Then the thing turned and walked back to its egg. The metal hissed shut. Jed stood there a long time, hat in hand, heart rattling like a snake in a boot. Next morning, he rode into town, put his gun on the bar, and ordered a drink. "Quittin' the gunfighting business?" the bartender asked. Jed nodded. "Ain't no hurry no more." Make Universe Great Again, a short story by Finnegan Codwell. Donald Trump was golfing at Mar-a-Lago when the spaceship landed. It was chrome, gaudy, and had his name on it in gold letters. He loved it immediately. Out stepped an alien, tall, green, vaguely humanoid, wearing a suit that somehow looked more expensive than his own. The alien introduced itself as Supreme Negotiator Zyglin from the Andromeda Trade Federation. It had come to discuss Earth's admission into the galactic economy. Trump shook its hand, 3 fingers, cold and slimy. "Great to meet you, Zyglin. A lot of people are saying aliens love me. You love me, don't you?" "You mean the Trump brand?" Trump grinned. "The best, right?" Zyglon hesitated. "We are particularly interested in your species' ability to generate immense wealth while simultaneously increasing debt. It defies our understanding of physics." Trump leaned in. "It's called leverage. The future is debt, my friend. You borrow money, never pay it back, and somehow get richer." Zyglon shuddered. "Our civilization has mastered quantum mechanics, faster than light travel, and interdimensional theory. But this is beyond us." The alien offered Earth a trade deal, infinite energy, in exchange for humanity's financial algorithms. Trump loved the deal. The best deal. The biggest deal. You won't regret it. 3 months later, the galactic economy collapsed. The Andromeda Trade Federation declared bankruptcy. Zyglon was last seen hosting a reality show on Pluto called Who Wants to Be a Space Billionaire? Trump meanwhile, declared himself emperor of the Milky Way. He printed a new currency backed by his own self-worth. Its value fluctuated wildly. The Infinite Internship, a short story by Finnegan Codwell. Daniel was an intern at Brantley & Sons, a company that sold something. He was never quite sure what. His job was to deliver memos. The office was a maze of gray cubicles, buzzing fluorescents, and coffee-stained carpets. One day, Daniel took a wrong turn and found a corridor he'd never seen before. It stretched on endlessly, lined with closed doors. He walked, memo in hand, waiting for the hallway to end. It didn't. He checked his phone. No signal. He checked his watch. The second hand twitched forward, but the office clocks all read 3:47 p.m. He walked for what felt like hours. His stomach growled. A vending machine appeared up ahead, humming softly. The snack options were unfamiliar. Snacks, Obrix, Zorb Cola, NutriCube. He fed it a crumpled dollar, pressed a button at random. A silver-wrapped bar tumbled out. The ingredients were printed in an alphabet he didn't recognize. He took a bite. It tasted like cardboard and regret. Further down, he found a break room. There was a microwave, but the buttons had symbols instead of numbers. A motivational poster read, "Strive for Xub, and Xub will strive for you." Another had a stock photo of a smiling businessman giving a thumbs up. The caption, "Efficiency is a state of mind." The man in the photo had no eyes. A desk appeared in the hallway, perfectly centered. Behind it sat a man in a brown suit, hunched over a typewriter. The keys clacked steadily. Daniel cleared his throat. The man didn't look up. The paper in the typewriter was blank. Daniel ran. He turned corners, slammed through doors. Every time, he found another hallway, stretching on forever. Identical carpet, identical light fixtures. The same faint hum of a printer running somewhere just out of sight. Then, in the distance, he saw someone. Another intern. The same cheap button-down. The same nervous look. The other intern clutched a memo. Just like Daniel. They locked eyes. The other intern opened his mouth, about to speak. His lips were cracked, his tie loose, his ID badge smudged beyond readability. Daniel turned and ran. He didn't want to hear what the man had to say. His shoes wore thin. His stomach stopped growling. He forgot what the memo said. Daniel is still walking. He has delivered nothing. The Last Day Discount, a short story by Finnegan Codwell. The world was ending on a Thursday. Scientists had confirmed it. The government had accepted it, and the news anchors had run out of ways to say it. An asteroid the size of Peru was inbound, and there was nothing to be done. So naturally, everything went on sale. Buy one, get one free on coffins. Final clearance on all earthly possessions. End of the world happy hour. All drinks half price. Jerry worked the register at a big box store that morning, scanning doomsday bargains with all the enthusiasm of a man who knew his shift would be his last. A woman bought 50 cans of soup. A man bought every television in the store, even though there'd be nothing left to watch. Someone else tried to pay in store credit, but Jerry just waved them through. "Do you have any regrets?" an old man asked him at checkout. Jerry thought about it. About all the hours spent stocking shelves, all the dreams he'd shelved himself. "I always wanted to learn how to juggle," Jerry admitted. The old man nodded. "Should have started sooner." At noon, corporate sent out an email announcing that employees could leave early, but nobody did. They just kept scanning, buying, selling. At 4:30 p.m., Jerry found a rubber ball in the toy aisle. He tossed it in the air. It hit the ceiling and bounced into oblivion. He shrugged. Close enough. At 6:01 p.m., the store manager announced over the loudspeaker, "Attention shoppers, this is your final reminder that all sales are final." At 6:02 p.m., the asteroid arrived.